Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we're going to be comparing the Bronco Wildtrak to the Bronco Raptor to see which Bronco is the best. Before we get in this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Southtown Imports here in Utah for giving me some time with both of these Broncos. They have both of these available for sale right now, so if you're looking for a Bronco Raptor or a Bronco Wildtrak, definitely check out the inventory in the description down below. They also sell the new Mitsubishi product if you're looking at that as well. If you have any questions, just ask for Nick. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money, the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. So starting under the hood of the Wildtrak, we have a turbocharged 2.7 liter V6 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 330 horsepower and then 415 pound-feet of torque. Now in terms of fuel economy, you should be able to safely average about 16-17 miles per gallon. And then under the hood of the Raptor, we have a turbocharged 3-liter V6 that's paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 418 horsepower and just over 440 pound-feet of torque. And I had one of these for a few days and I was able to average about 16 miles per gallon with it. So what we have discovered here is, although the Wildtrak has a slightly smaller powertrain, which you think would be more efficient, it's not. So the Bronco Raptor has more power and it gets about the same amount of fuel economy. Now, before we go over the front ends, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So let's actually start off by going over the color difference with the vehicles, because there actually is a difference. I know they look the same, but this is Area 51 and this is Azure Gray. So the Azure Gray is a little bit lighter in terms of the tone compared to the Area 51, which is a little bit darker, and hopefully that comes up on camera. Now, the other big difference is going to be the hood. Look at how you just have the Wildtrak decal versus on the Raptor, you have the whole Raptor vents setup, which is really cool. And then the next thing is, notice it says Bronco here on the front end, whereas on the Raptor, you've got the chunky Ford grille. And then the next thing to note is going to be ground clearance difference. So with the Wildtrak, you've got about 11.5 inches of ground clearance, whereas with this Bronco Raptor, you've got 13.1 inches of ground clearance. And then obviously you got the bash plate, because this is supposed to be like a Baja Bronco, and so you're going to want a little bit more reinforcement versus the reinforcement that the Wildtrak has. But let me know which front end you guys like more, whether it's Wildtrak or Raptor. Now, popping over to the side of the Wildtrak, we've got 17-inch wheels, and wrapped around that we have 35s in the front and over in the rear as well. And you guys can see the wheels are beadlock capable. Now with the Raptor, we have 17-inch wheels, but we've got 37s wrapped around them in the front and over in the rear. Now this one actually does not have the beadlock capable wheels, but I love how they look. Now, the big thing that people talk about with the Broncos is going to be the fenders and the fender flares. You guys can see here with the Wildtrak how it's a little bit more normal looking, because, well, the fenders and the fenders themselves, they're pretty much just like a straight line across, whereas the fender flares, they pop out, but not a massive amount. And then with the Bronco Raptor, you guys can see the fender flares pop out just a ton. And then you have the fenders that actually pop out a little bit as well, especially the front. You can see the little venting right there. But I will say, seeing these both in person, to be completely honest, I think the Bronco Raptor looks better. I know a lot of people won't agree with that, but like seeing them next to each other, it just has so much more presence, but it's just my personal opinion. Now, another big difference between these is going to be these shocks. So this Wildtrak has the Bilstein position sensitive shocks. However, if you get a 23 Wildtrak, you actually get it with the Haas Fox shocks. What I will say is, regardless of the shocks you get on the Wildtrak, they're not nearly as advanced as what you get on the Raptor, and you also just don't have as much travel with the Wildtrak. Whereas with the Bronco Raptor here, you guys can see we've got the live valve Fox shocks that are pretty much identical as what you get on the F-150 Raptor. So they obviously adjust as you go, and they can just take so much more compression. And this thing literally has 13 inches of travel in the front and 14 inches of travel in the rear. Now, another key difference is actually going to be the key fobs. You guys can see we've got Bronco on the one key fob and Raptor on the other key fob. And then they actually have different taillights. You guys can see here with the Bronco Raptor, and then obviously you got like the marker lights as well, and then a spare 37 and a Raptor logo there on the back end. But they're both hard tops. You can see over here with the regular Bronco, notice it just has the Ford logo in the same place, and then the taillights look different. But yeah, I mean, the back ends of both of them, it's so different, it's crazy. And then popping inside, let's go over the interior differences. So just pay attention to the door panel here, and just a quick look at the mirrors. The big thing you'll notice though is with the seats. So pretty interesting two-tone seats here with this Wildtrak, and pop in here, start her up. Ooh. So steering wheel is completely different between both of them, and I'll show you the difference when we pop over to the Bronco Raptor, but you guys can see the setup here. And then also the gauge cluster. This one's like half digital and then half analog, as you can see. And we'll close this so that you can see the camera system. We got 360 camera system here in this Wildtrak. And then also notice that we have a front and rear locker. We have trail turn assist, stability control, no stabilizer bar disconnect with this. And then we do have like heated seats. We got dual zone climate as well. And then here's our GOAT mode select with the driveline select. You guys can see we've got our 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel high, 4-wheel auto, 4-wheel low, and then your off-road cruise control. And then if we go through the different GOAT modes here, we've got a normal, we've got an eco, if the camera will focus, we've got sport, slippery, mud ruts, sand, and then we have a Baja mode as well with the Wildtrak. We do have 6 auxiliary switches here up top. And then here's a quick look at the hardtop itself with the Wildtrak, but let's go compare that to the Raptor. Now popping into the Raptor, you guys can see this whole setup is pretty much the same. Obviously the coloration's different, but that's the same. But the seats, these are way different. You've got these really cool like bucket type seats here in the Raptor. And then stepping in, that's all the same. Ooh. So we've got the Raptor style steering wheel. That's also a big difference. Got like the marker at the top, big paddle shifters here on the back, and then full digital gauge cluster here. And you probably noticed on the steering wheel, we can adjust the suspension, the exhaust. We've got our R mode, we've got our steering adjustment, all on the steering wheel. So a little bit more customization here in the Bronco Raptor. So like I can do the exhaust, for example, in the different modes. And then with those drive modes, while we're at it, you can see this has drive modes that are more similar to like the F-150 Raptor, as you can see. And it's got animations also like the F-150 Raptor. So that's a big difference. This is all the same, but the Bronco Raptor does come with a stabilizer bar disconnect. I know you can't see it because of the sunlight. You gotta trust me, it's there. And then the actual GOAT mode select itself is red, which is pretty cool. And then you got like cool touches like Raptor here. And then the interior on this one's obviously blue because of the theme. So you got like the blue and the orange, and then like the Bronco logo, orange. And then the top up here actually looks the same, but the Raptor does have reinforcement here at the top because, well, 13 inches of travel, and you can jump it and all that kind of stuff from the factory. So it's gonna need a little bit more reinforcement. Still got the auxiliary switches though. And now let's finish off by talking about pricing. Now I'm gonna go over MSRP pricing. Something to mention is, well, both of these vehicles in today's market go for over original MSRP, whether it's new or used, because, well, there's a lot of people that want Broncos, especially Wildtraks and especially Raptors, and there's just not enough of them being built. So a loaded up Wildtrak, you're over $60,000, whereas a loaded up Bronco Raptor, you're over $80,000. So it's like a $20,000 price difference between them. However, what I do wanna say is, like, what I've seen on average is a lot of these will go for like 10, sometimes $20,000 over original MSRP in the used market, whereas these things will go for like 40, 50,000 over original MSRP in some cases on the used market. And so, like, not only is the Bronco Raptor more expensive from an original MSRP perspective, the market value is way more. And I think it's just because of, you know, what it is, the excitement behind it. But anyways, let's drive them and see what the difference is. Okay, so starting off in the Bronco Wildtrak, and this is going to be a really fun review day for me because I brought my F-150 Raptor up with a 37 performance package so that I can do a back-to-back comparison with this, the Bronco Raptor, and then my Raptor, just to see what fun off-road Ford package is the best. Now, obviously, the comparisons are going to be separate because I don't want the video to be extremely long, and so we'll have this comparison, and then we'll have the, you know, Raptor versus Raptor comparison. Now, first thing I want to note is this feels so small, and I'm sure that's going to be one of the big differentiating factors with this versus the other two, is just how much smaller this is going to feel. But man, this engine, it's got some torque. It's got torque. That's some serious oomph, right? That's the best way for me to put it. This thing moves. I do have a bit of tire noise here with it. I'm trying to adjust the mirror here. I realized I didn't adjust the driver one. Passenger one's fine though. Yeah, let's see. Turn-in's pretty good. And again, this one has the Bilstein position sensitive shocks. Ooh, this has some. It did some like blow off there. So I guess this one's a little bit modified, But yeah, it actually rides really well. It'll be interesting to see how this compares to the other two in terms of ride quality. My guess is that this is probably going to be the roughest, and then the Bronco Raptor is going to be in the middle, and then the F-150 Raptor is going to be the like smoothest riding, most comfortable. Yeah, this thing's freaking powerful. I don't think this is stock power outputs. I'm just putting that out there because, like, when I'm pushing into this, this feels like more than the 415 pound-feet of torque. And this does have like a Turbo Smart badge there on the outside, so I'm getting kind of suspect here. But yeah, going over the bumps and everything, you can tell like the Bilstein position sensitive shocks are fine, but they're kind of rough with the initial compression. And I've driven a Bronco Wildtrak with the Haas. It's better than this, but it's not like it's not on the same level as the Raptors, and I'll show that when we drive over the same roads. But the thing that I like about this the most is the size. I feel like I'm in an SUV. I feel like I'm driving around in something that's, you know, reasonably sized. It's not, you know, like big, and it's not hard to drive. And something else to note is like, with the weight differences. So my Raptor weighs like just under it weighs like 6,000 pounds. The Bronco Raptor weighs 5,700 pounds. This weighs like just over 5,000 pounds. And you do feel that with the driving. You do feel that with like the steering, the turn-in. You feel that with everything. It's just a much smaller feeling vehicle. Holy crap. Yeah, there's no way this is stock. There's no way this is stock power outputs. I'm just putting that out there. So this comparison's not perfect because we're not comparing stock Wildtrak to stock Bronco Raptor in terms of power outputs. Because yeah, like I'll do another acceleration, but like this thing feels way faster than what I remember. Oh yeah, good gravy. Listen, that's so cool with the the blow off. That's fun. But summing things up with the Wildtrak, I still think this thing's great. It's really cool, frankly. Super powerful. And yeah, I mean, if you want more of like an SUV driving experience, I think that's where this one's gonna sit. So setting off in the Bronco Raptor, and I will say this is kind of interesting popping into this right out of the F-150 Raptor. You hear more of everything. The exhaust is quieter. Like I said, the F-150 Raptor trombone exhaust is definitely more aggressive, but this one, it seems like you just hear more of everything that's happening. Like, because again, it's not as well insulated. Now, this doesn't weigh that much less than the F-150 Raptor. Again, the Bronco Raptor's, you know, curb weight, it's like 5,700 pounds, whereas the F-150 Raptor is like 6,000. I mean, that's pretty loud. It's not as shouty. It's just different. It's a different tone, but it's still loud. It's like, don't worry, like you'll hear the exhaust. Now, the thing that's most surprising, honestly, is the ride quality is different. This isn't quite as comfy as the F-150, but it's not far off, to be honest. This does drive smaller than the F-150 though. And it drives bigger than the regular Bronco. But again, it's just like the F-150 Raptor. It feels like it handles better than the regular Bronco. So it seems like it's kind of a little bit of a sweet spot. I'll pop it into sport mode. And I'm noticing so far on the transmission, it seems like it's just as responsive as the F-150. Yeah, let's pop it into manual mode. Yeah, it's just as responsive as the F-150 transmission. So that's very interesting. Definitely, again, just like the regular Bronco, it's noisier than the F-150. So if you're looking for cabin insulation and luxury, the F-150 is going to do that. But, you know, compared to like something like a Wrangler, which is actually behind me, This is a lot more livable. There's less wind noise than like a Wrangler. Feels more insulated. The handling on this is way better than both of them, honestly. I think it's because the shorter wheelbase, you'd think there'd be less stability, which it does feel that way. But I don't know, it just feels better. Yeah, going over bumps and everything, it's not as so the shocks and the suspension handle the compression just as good as the Raptor, if not better. But something to mention with the shocks and suspension is this, you feel more. Like the F-150, I feel like it really like isolates you from everything, whereas this, you feel more of what's happening. This thing feels just as quick as the F-150, to be honest. I like the blow off you get out of this. But yeah, this doesn't feel slower at all. It feels just as quick, maybe even a little bit quicker in a way. Because again, the smaller size. Oh man, I hate what I'm about to say, because I'm probably going to cause Bronco Raptor prices to increase. I like this a lot. Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Compared to the regular Bronco, like after driving this, I don't even want to look at it. That's just, I'm being honest. I love, like the regular Bronco, I think it's super capable. I understand, you know, for a lot of people, like this doesn't work within the budget and the size doesn't make sense and all that. But if this does work in your budget and if the size works, yeah, this, for me personally, like the regular Bronco is just not on the radar anymore.